Hey guys, welcome to MeetEdgar's very first office hours. I'm super excited to be kicking this off. And our main goal really of holding these office hours is to make sure we're really accessible to our Edgar community, as well as making sure that if you have a question, rather than having to wait for us to respond over email or chat or an individual call, we can do it in a group setting. And it's kind of like that idea. You don't even know some of the questions that you want to ask sometimes. So this is going to be a really cool opportunity. Like I said, we're going to be running these almost every single day. So you guys had that link where you registered here. So feel free to come back to any of these sessions at all. And we'll be answering your questions that you submitted ahead of time, as well as making sure that you can answer any questions also. So over on the right side of your screen here is a chat bar. I'm going to go through some of the pre-submitted questions first and share my screen and kind of go over some setup stuff. But as we're going along, if you have additional questions, go ahead and pop them into that chat section. If you're here now too, go ahead and pop in where you're joining in from. I'm actually in Denver, Colorado. We had a crazy hailstorm last night, but today it's beautiful and 70 degrees. So tuning in from Denver, let me know where you're coming in from. And as we go along too, pop your questions in there. Let us know if we can clarify anything at all. If I miss a question or something like that, I'll stay on at the end for more Q&A stuff. As we get started and wait for a couple more people to trickle in here, I also wanted to go ahead and give you all Edgar's Getting Started Guide. So that link that I just popped in right there, I know we had a question about just some initial setup advice. So if you are having some sort of questions about the best flow for setting Edgar up, that guide is really fantastic for getting that started. We also have a really great guide on our Help Center that walks you through the steps of going in and connecting your social media accounts, and that's going to be going here. So like I said, connecting your social media accounts, making sure you're getting your custom categories set up in Edgar, making sure you're setting a weekly repeating schedule to free up your time, and then letting Edgar do all that fun work for you. Cool. So Peter, Dan, thanks so much for joining today. Like I said, we're going to go ahead and hop on in to do a little screen share here to start. If you do have questions along the way, pop them into the chat and we'll get those answered. And then we'll do a little Q&A at the end. So the first question that I wanted to address today comes from Adam. And Adam asked if you've seen evidence that social platforms have downgrade any posts that you post over and over again or show them to less people coming from a scheduler. So it was true that back in the day, a few years ago, Facebook and programs like that did actually go ahead and remove the visibility of posts through a scheduler, but that's actually not part of their algorithm. And all the testing we do here at Edgar, if we post organically versus through the platform, we don't see any reach sort of differential there. So sometimes if you're just starting out and you're changing the method that you're using to post to social media, it can have a lot of different factors in it, like the frequency of your updates, your schedule, the content that you're selecting to post. These things do have an effect on reach quite a bit. So the first thing that you're going to want to think about is what you're changing for your audience, how you're creating that consistency for them. And you'll see that reach kind of go up and down if you are changing your strategy for a little bit, but it's definitely not something coming from a third-party app. We do have a really awesome Help Center document as well that I'll pop into the chat here that has to do with reach specifically. And reach specifically is something that we love for you to focus on because we want you to get your message out to as many members as possible on social media and build up that really great tribe. So one thing that I recommend doing if you're on here, Adam, is actually going into your Facebook Insights to get this sort of information. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you here real quick, and we'll go over in Edgar how you can start to gain a little more information about the reach as well as about all this fun stuff that comes with seeing your hard work pay off. So when you hop into Edgar here, if you are starting to look at your analytics, I suggest going your history tab to the first place. So your history tab here, just an outline of everything that you go ahead and add into Edgar. My favorite thing to recommend doing with the history tab is batching out maybe 5 minutes at the end of your day in order to engage with your community. Because when it comes to reach and when it comes to what the algorithm is giving love to these days, it is all about that engagement and connection and that sort of hyper focus going deep with your followers. We were actually just having this discussion today in the MeetEdgar Slack channel about how important it is to go deep with your followers rather than going wide with them to create those connections. And how this happens is actually responding to those comments you're getting, asking questions to your followers, making sure you're engaging with them. And that's where the reach, and that's where you're going to grow your community the most. So in your history tab here in Edgar, what I suggest doing is at the end of your day, batching out maybe 15 minutes to come in here. And if you actually click this little arrow next to the date stamp here, it'll take you to the post right on the social media network where you're able to see things like if you have questions or comments that you need to respond to, you're able to get an idea of the type of language that's really resonating with your followers and that they're really being compelled to respond to. So that's one way that you can really get your reach up. Another thing that I suggest doing to kind of hone in on the language that people are really starting to resonate with is looking at this all-time clicks column in your history tab. So this all-time clicks header can actually, if you click this, it'll sort to show you the links in the posts with the most clicks down to the least clicks. And this is gold for you to be able to come in here and start to see what links are really compelling people to click on. Start to notice the patterns, the times of day that you're seeing most clicks happen, as well as if this was a headline or a question or some sort of thought leadership that you put into that post. Because remember, guys, there's so many different things that people can go out these days and actually seek that information, that the attention grabbingness on social media, the saturation of the market, the only thing that can make you stand out in that saturation is being you and showing your personality in there. So if you're sharing blog posts, we always recommend doing things like actually sharing your personality in them, not just the headline, and starting to test what your followers like to see. So after you sort this all-time clicks and start identifying some of your top driving posts, what you can do to dig a little bit deeper when you're looking into this reach is actually click on this View Performance History button. So the View Performance History will take you to where you can see the content performance history here. So this will show you things like when the clicks on your links occurred. You can see this graph here letting you know the days and times those clicks occurred. And if you're using MeetEdgar's variations feature, which we'll go over in a second here, you can also see if this post has gone out multiple times, that Edgar will sort which variation received the most clicks and which received the least clicks. Now, guys, you don't want to be doing what we call playing golf in the dark and just not paying attention to this. You're not going to get any better at your marketing. You need to come in here, pay attention to the messaging that you're putting out there and what's really sticking to your followers, what they're seeing the value in. So this is a great place to hone in on that information. Beyond that, Adam, what I suggest doing when you're looking into this reach and this sort of information is seeing, your actual Facebook insights, your actual Twitter analytics. That stuff can be a really good gold mine too. So if you go to your Facebook page itself, so here in MeetEdgar's Facebook page, I'm just going to pop right in here to show you where you can get to that. But you do this on your Facebook page, obviously. You're going to go to your Insights tab right up here. And then over on this left-hand side navigation bar, you're going to click this Posts button. And this Posts button over here is going to give you information like when your audience is online the most. And it's going to give you information like if they like clicks to click your links or to watch your videos or to see your information in photo format. And again, you want to make sure that you're finding those bright spots in the content you're creating, what your community is engaging with in order to then go on in and create more of that. You don't want to have to reinvent the wheel, guys. You want to be able to give your community information that they want. So in your Facebook Insights, this graph will show you the times of day that are best to post for your followers, when they're online the most. Obviously, MeetEdgar works with marketers who are online during the day, so that's really awesome. And then scrolling down further, you can see things like if it was a photo versus a link versus a video, just to see the information here. All right, guys, so that's a little bit about reach. Go ahead and email support@meetedgar.com if you need more information or more tailored information on that as well, Adam. But we'll go ahead and hop on over to the next question. It looks like Christina's getting some of your information answered there too. Tanya, yes, we'll definitely go ahead and send in that, send you the replay after. Sorry if the connection's not real great for you. Dan, so glad you found that useful. Twitter also has that information, if you're logged into your Twitter account and you go to analytics.twitter.com, that'll go ahead and give you some amazing information as well. They're really great at the demographic section. So to hone in if your followers like dogs better than cats and really niching it down, because again, the more you can niche it down, the more focused you can get on who you are speaking to, the more your messaging is going to attract the right people. Because it's not about needing a huge audience, guys. It's about being patient to find the right followers who are going to be a part of your community. All right, Tammy, you've got a question. If you do a variation with a blog post and add several images for it to use, how does MeetEdgar determine which image to use in each variation of the post? Great question. So guys, if you're not familiar with our variations feature, it's awesome to be able to use in order to make sure that you're still getting that evergreen content going on, but you're able to stay in line with Twitter's terms of service. So why MeetEdgar built this is because we went ahead and realized that Twitter changed their terms of service to say you can't send the same tweet to the same Twitter account more than once anymore. They did this essentially to cut down on spam and bots, but if you think about the spirit of this change, why they really did this was because they wanted to make it an authentic community where real conversations happened and people were really going in there and connecting with a community, having conversations, and it wasn't just broadcast after broadcast and people are getting so overwhelmed with information that they don't really care about seeing. So again, if you want to look at this change as frustrating as some people do, it's not going to help you as much as if you look at this as an awesome opportunity that Twitter went ahead and changed that algorithm to make sure they're showing really powerful information. So when you're coming in here and using our variations feature, this can be used for any network, but it was specifically built for Twitter so that you can still stay in line with their terms of service, but drive traffic to your blog posts time after time and reshare them in that great MeetEdgar strategy. So when you add a link here, let's go ahead and take a link from the MeetEdgar blog here. What you can do if you're sharing a blog post on Twitter is go ahead and create a variation for it manually. If you click this manually add variation button here, Edgar will pop up a second text box where you're able to go in and create something like a different headline that you might have considered using for this blog post, a different question, a different thought leadership concept that you wanted to put out there. If you do add an image manually with this little add image button right down here, the variations will send with the same image. So Edgar's variation feature at this time can only send one image with each variation he sends. So with this, Edgar will go ahead and send one variation. It works in that last in, first out order that the schedule works in. Variations will never go out back to back as long as you have enough content in that category. But essentially what the variations are going to allow for is when this whole post is up in your rotation again, Edgar will send one variation, then he'll automatically expire it for Twitter, keeping you in line with that terms of service. The next time this whole post is up in your rotation based on the schedule you set, the next variation will go out. But if you have an image attached to it, that same image will share with each text variation. So if you do need a different image to share with the text, you would have to add it as separate content and not use it as the variations feature. The cool thing about doing this now, especially with Twitter and images, is our new media scraper in here. So you can see this section. We just added this a couple weeks ago, and I'm super stoked about it. The cool thing about this is you can actually click this add button right here, and it will add this image that it scraped from your blog post automatically. So it's a great time saver as well. Again, you can only attach 4 images to send to Twitter, but all 4 of those would send with the same variation. We can't rotate through. So if you need different images to share with different content, you're going to want to add that content as separate ones here. The variations feature too, if you're not familiar with it, we do have this auto-generate variations as an option for you as well. So if you have a URL in here and you click auto-generate variations, Edgar's automatically going to get 5 different pull quotes from within this article to go ahead and share out. And what an awesome way for Edgar to do that work for you. So again, a really great time saver there. If you're adding variations separately with separate images, you can actually shuffle a category as well. So on the schedule here, if you're not familiar, if you're brand new to Edgar, we do scheduling on a weekly recurring schedule. So you set it up once, Edgar will go ahead and post things out, and he'll go ahead and do this on what we call a last in, first out rotation. So going along here, hitting this time slot, he'll send the most recent update you added to that category. He'll then put it to the end of the line in that category and move along. Next time he hits this, he'll send the next update out, put it to the end of the line in the category and move along, and he'll work his way through all of the different updates within that category. Once he reaches the bottom and there are no new updates to send out from that category, that's when he'll start from the top again, resurfacing your older content for your new followers to see, as well as those who didn't see it the very first time. And again, this evergreen strategy is great for cross-promoting your content to make sure you're amplifying your message and getting it out there more than once. It's this idea of writing once, promoting twice. That's so effective to drive traffic to your site and make sure your new followers, as well as those who might not have seen it the first time, have that opportunity. So as you're setting this up here, if you're adding content to your variations with separate images, you can do what we call shuffling in a category as well. So if you've added them to be posting to multiple platforms or back to back, and you wanted to make sure that last in, first out order was shuffled a little bit, in your categories tab here, this double crossed arrow, if you shuffle a category, a different post from that category is going to go out to each network attached there. So it's a really great way to go ahead and make sure if you know your audience is on different platforms and they check your Twitter and your LinkedIn and your Facebook every single day, and you want to give them something different on each platform to engage with, shuffling a category can be a really strong strategy to use. If you leave your category unshuffled, it's really great for like your newest blog posts, especially if they're coming in from that RSS feed, to be able to go out and to be able to make sure you're driving traffic right away. So shuffled, unshuffled is a fine strategy for these. But with that variations feature, one image per variation, and that same image will go out with each variation. If you are manually adding variations, guys, make sure you are putting the link in each and every variation you're putting in. So if you're clicking the add variation button here, the URL to your blog needs to be in each and every variation. We do email you when you're low on variations for a certain category, but I also wanted to point out one of my favorite workflows to use for variations is going to be in the library here. These filters over here on the left, you can go ahead and filter it by your Twitter account. And this account filter here. And this last filter has publishable variations. If you go ahead and click on no, it'll go ahead and filter it to show you all of the posts that are completely expired for Twitter. And if these are posts that you'd go ahead and like to resurface for your Twitter account to drive more traffic, what you're going to do is just click this edit button in the library. So again, have your filter set to a Twitter account, has publishable variations as no, click on edit, and you can go ahead and come in here and add more variations, either manually or auto-generate them. And this is a fantastic way to make sure you're getting that message out, you're testing different language, because you never know when the right time someone is going to buy or the language that's really going to hit them. Cool. Dan, that's a great suggestion there. We'll go ahead and pass that along to our product team for sure. We love hearing that information. We do actually have a feature request form, and I'm going to go ahead and pop it into the chat now as well, just because we want to make sure that we are building features that you guys are going to use. So go ahead and grab this link if you have other feature suggestions that you think of along the way. And I'm also going to go ahead and share our variations help article in here. So this variations help article will go over everything when it comes to Edgar and variations. Cool. So let me pop on into some of our pre-submitted questions again. So it looks like we have questions about managing different social accounts to different networks. So you have plenty of blog posts and you want to automatically send them to all networks. All right, Adrian, if you are on here, I'm going to address yours now. Adrian's a social media manager who's trying to get a bunch of content out to each network from blog posts. So my favorite ways to add blog posts to Edgar is through our RSS Feed Reader, which is fantastic because it'll automatically get that information into you. And what we call our MeetEdgar extension, which will allow you to add stuff from your browser and not have to open up your MeetEdgar account, which is great. So let me go ahead and again share my screen. So an RSS Feed Reader in Edgar is going to be under your Import tab. So if you come to your Import tab right up here, what this is going to allow you to do is add in an RSS feed for your blog, or if you like to share other people's content, in order to make sure this is coming into your library automatically. So let's say I work at MeetEdgar, that I wanted to make sure all of the blog posts we release to our blog are automatically brought over when they're released. All I'm going to do is put our URL in here. So this could be your URL, or if you know that you like to curate content from other people's sites in order to really get that information out to your followers, to position yourself as an expert in your industry, to make sure that you're giving them the most up-to-date content no matter where it's coming from. Remember, it's all about adding value to your communities. You're just going to put in the blog URL here. So find the blog URL and click on Find RSS Feed. So when you find this RSS feed here, Edgar's going to say, great, there's an RSS feed connected. You're then going to go ahead and, similar to when you add content manually, you're going to go ahead and connect this to a category. So in your categories tab, you can set up custom categories for your blog, or you could set up a category called like other people's content. And that way you can go ahead and control the ratio of when your blog posts are going out versus when curated content is going out, to get that awesome mix of content. So your followers are seeing a variety of stuff, and you're really imploring them to keep following you and keep engaging and building that relationship with them. So select the category you'd like these to be put into. Similar to when you're adding content manually, you're going to go ahead and tell Edgar, when these blog posts come in from this RSS feed, these are the accounts they should have permission to go out to. You're then going to do something of choosing to send these directly to your library. So really great for your own blog, because you know you want to share each and every one of those. Or if it's someone else's blog, or you want the ability to edit a post or to approve or reject it before it goes into the rotation of your content, you're going to go to this pending content section here. So when I click to add this to the pending content section, what's going to happen is Edgar's going to automatically bring over any posts that are attached to the back end of the RSS feed. Typically on most blogs, this is about 10 to 25. If you have a WordPress blog, you can change this to make sure that you're importing all of the back ones on your settings. And I'll pop the help article in there after I get done with this section to show you how to do that. And then every 24 hours, Edgar checks any RSS feeds that you've added here, and he automatically brings them into the library. So your pending content, if you set up an RSS feed to go to pending, that's going to be in your library as well. And your pending content section here, nothing from pending will ever go out until you approve this into the library. You can reject it if you decide, you know what, this isn't going to be really valuable for my followers to see. Go ahead and reject it, and Edgar won't share it. Or you can edit it. And I always suggest editing it to add in a little bit of your own, again, personality in there, to give your thought leadership about it, to add some variations if you wanted to send it out over and over again, stuff like that. Once you approve it into the library, it'll be seen as the most recent piece of content that was added to that category. So the next time that category appears on your schedule, Edgar's going to go ahead and share that most recent post that was brought over from the RSS feed out to whatever category or whatever accounts are attached over here. He'll then either put it to the end of the line in the category, or if you've marked like that whole RSS feed as a use once RSS feed, I think I forgot to show you, you are able to do that here. But when you're adding your RSS feed, you can see you can mark them all as use once. So if it's like curated content that you just want to share once Edgar sends that out, he'll automatically retire it if it's a use once post. So that's a really great way to get your blog posts in there. And again, guys, we always suggest connecting any blog posts to multiple accounts, like your Facebook, like your like your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn accounts, to make sure that it's going out to each network so that you're showing up for all your followers that way. The other way that you can add blog posts, Adriana, is to use our extension. So let's go ahead and take this example with the MeetEdgar blog here. But again, you could just be out researching online and decide you found a really stellar article that you wanted to add to your library. Instead of having to copy and paste it into Edgar, what you can do is download our extension, and I'll pop it into a chat in a second. What you can do is click on this little Edgar icon here. You can see in my toolbar right up here. I'm going to click on this MeetEdgar icon. It's going to go ahead and pop up the add to content screen here with the title of the blog post and URL already pre-populated into this text section. So all you guys have to do is go ahead and select a category you'd like it to go into. Go ahead and select the accounts you'd like to have this send out to, and you can go ahead and save it to your library. You can take a couple minutes if you wanted to personalize it at all here, all of that fun stuff. With our extension and with RSS feeds, if they are connected to multiple accounts here, and one of them is Facebook, you guys will also notice you have this second Facebook text box pop up here. So the reason that this actually exists is because Facebook sees extension and RSS posts as automated posts, which they go ahead and they don't allow per their terms and conditions there. So if you do not populate this Facebook text box, the URL and link preview is still going to send. So it'll go ahead and still send out. If you pop to this preview tab, either on the extension or inside of Edgar, you can see what's going to share to Facebook is just going to be the link preview here. So if you wanted to add in any other text and it's going to Facebook, make sure you add that text in this upper one to send to Twitter and LinkedIn, but then you copy and paste it into this Facebook text here, because that's the way we make sure we're complying with their terms of service, but we're still able to provide you with these time-saving tools like the extension and RSS feeds. So that's what I would suggest doing for your blog posts for sure. Let me go ahead and pop on in that extension here. If you haven't grabbed that yet, definitely do. I love, love, love using this myself to be able to get curated content in there. So when you're adding these and when you're going ahead and putting them in different categories, we always suggest with your schedule, thinking about what's your main goal here. It's to drive brand awareness. It's to get that really great top of mind vibe when it comes to social media marketing, but it's also to do things like promote yourself. And it's also to do things like drive traffic to your blog so that people can really start to get an idea of who you are and want to hang out with your brand. Because remember, guys, people buy from people, not from logos and companies on social media. They're there to connect with their friends and family. They're there to have these strong connections. So it's really great in order to put your personality in there and think about ways you can upcycle this blog content you're adding. So doing things like maybe considering getting some pull quotes that are really great standalone text gems to go ahead and add those as text only updates to a different category in Edgar and schedule that category to go out as well on separate days. So people are still getting that education from you and it's coming in a different form. So maybe they don't have time to click through on your blog post link and actually read a whole blog post, but you can still provide them value. You can still show up to them because you've gone ahead and you've taken 5 pull quotes and added them to your tips category in Edgar and place that tips category on the schedule at different times. So again, thinking about how people consume social media, thinking about how fast-paced it is out there these days, you want to make sure that variety of content is going out. All right, we did have a question about hashtags and Instagram. So we have a really stellar blog post article that I'll pop into the chat here. If you're using Instagram at all, hashtags are definitely something that we recommend using because it is a social network that's categorized by hashtags. So using hashtags, some of the things to think about is you can only use up to 30 hashtags in a post. So if you're ever having trouble adding an Instagram post to MeetEdgar, if it's not saving, make sure you don't have more than 30 hashtags in there. The typical thing, industry standard, is posts with about 7 to 10 hashtags do get the most engagement. So even if you're using all 30, typically people aren't going to love to see all 30 hashtags. So I'd suggest coming up with really intentional hashtags, 7 to 10 super intentional hashtags that you can go ahead and rotate through. Some people like to use what we call hashtag buckets. So you could create like a bucket of, say, like 5 different hashtags and create maybe like 10 of those different buckets and keep them in like the notes pad on your computer. And then you can just quickly copy and paste them and rotate through that grouping. And as you're adding your Instagram content, so when you click to add new content here and you attach it to Instagram, obviously for Instagram, you're going to need to upload a photo from your computer here. Select your photo here, go ahead and click open. Write your really stellar update in this section here. And then you could just copy and paste all of your hashtags here, or you can just type them in. So marketing rocks. You could go ahead and use that hashtag there. How Instagram works, if you're not familiar with it on MeetEdgar, is you add your content in the exact same way. So you come in here, you click to add new content, you upload your photo, put your update in here, select the category that you'd like it to go out to. You can make separate categories in your categories tab for Instagram. Or if it's something that's not being shared with like a link or anything like that, you can go ahead and connect again, always about cross-promoting to your other social networks as well. Add your hashtags in here. You're going to schedule it the same way as well. So on your weekly repeating schedule here, you're going to come on in here and you're going to make your status, your time slots here connected to Instagram. So make sure Instagram's connected to them. When an actual post is ready to send to Instagram, so again, your posts are being stored in your library. This is just a catalog of all your posts in Edgar being stored in here. The schedule here is when you're telling Edgar to send them out. This weekly repeating schedule will go week after week, so you only have to set it up once. The Queue tab is going to show you essentially the posts being pulled from the library based on those time slots on the schedule. You can, of course, sort this by account here. So for Instagram, let's get back and focused on the Instagram example here. When this post is ready to send, so this was pulled into the queue based on our scheduled time slots connected to Instagram. When this is ready to send, Edgar's going to send your phone a push notification. That push notification is going to say, hey, you've got an Edgar post ready to go out. You're just going to tap that push notification and Edgar's going to go ahead and open up Instagram. When he does that, the text that you've added to the post here, so this text here, will automatically be copied to your phone's clipboard. This photo will automatically be copied to your phone or your iPad's camera roll, at which point all you need to do is choose to post it to your story or to your feed, filter the photo however you want, tap to paste the text, and share it from there. So with this push notification option here, I always like to encourage people to know that this is an awesome way to bring more engagement to your Instagram strategy. So Instagram is definitely a place, and everything that we're reading and hearing Mark Zuckerberg say is that they're going more and more towards the engagement model. They want to see that meaningful conversation that they updated the Facebook algorithm with a while ago is also going to be applied to Instagram, guys. Think about it. Facebook owns Instagram, and everything that they are seeing happening and everything that they've done strategy-wise on Facebook is probably something that they're going to start implementing on Instagram. The product manager of Facebook's product team was actually just moved over to the Instagram team. So it's going to be interesting to see those algorithms change. But the best way to future-proof your Instagram account from these algorithm changes and make sure your posts are still showing up is to build that strong community who wants to see you, because that's your best algorithm buster, is people who are going to intentionally go to your page and get excited about seeing and hearing from you. And that is all going to come with consistency and using that weekly repeating schedule to do things like set up even day-specific categories. So set up things like Motivational Monday or Tip Tuesday or Wisdom Wednesday or Throwback Thursday category in your MeetEdgar category tab. And then create these hashtags in those hashtag groups that I was mentioning and speak right into the day of the trends that are going on, stuff like that. And As Edgar goes along and he hits those categories on your schedule, it's going to look like you're showing up for people every single day. And they're going to say, wow, this company cares about me, this product, this service, this is something that I want to engage with, because there's a real human behind it. It's not something that they're like, I'm just seeing promotion after promotion on this Instagram feed. So think about ways that you can do that. And when you're going in and posting on Instagram, make sure when you're on there, when Edgar has sent you that push notification, that you spend maybe 5 minutes in there and actually create some comments. Actually go in there and type out some comments to people. Go in there and like photos who are using hashtags similar to your hashtag groupings. And what this is going to do is it's going to engage a community who is interested in your industry, in your niche, who's interested in having these conversations and connecting with you. And that's going to be a fantastic way for you then to make sure that you're standing out and reaching the people who matter, not just random people, but the people who need your product or service, who need you in their life to solve their pain points. And guys, remember, social media marketing is about patience. Patience is your secret weapon in social media marketing. It's building relationships. It's getting people to follow you because you have given them so much entertainment and so much information and so much value and education that when it comes time for them to need you, you've nurtured them along the way. And it takes that 14 touch points these days for someone to become brand loyal and buy from you. So don't give up too soon. Keep nurturing your community, and know when that push notification comes, have that mindset of like, oh, that's my time to go in and engage with my community and really build up an audience who is going to be my algorithm buster. So a really great way of doing that. Let me go ahead and pop in our Instagram help article here too, in our help center. If you guys need any help connecting up the app or anything like that, go ahead and let me know in the chat, or go ahead and email support@meetedgar.com, and we are more than happy to answer any other questions for you. So it does look like a few of you guys are still on here. Super excited to answer any questions that might have popped up along the way. I know we've been jumping around the app a little bit, and this being the first office hours that we're running, I'm just kind of wondering as well if you guys have any questions about kind of the basic flow of Edgar, like adding content to the library, setting up the weekly repeating schedule, stuff like that. So keep popping them in the chat. I'll go ahead and check back in there. One thing I did want to mention, we've gone over the weekly repeating schedule a couple of times now, but in MeetEdgar as well, I wanted to chat a little bit about our schedule send and save feature too. So the weekly repeating schedule that you set up with your categories that repeats week after week and rotates through your content, resurfacing it for more and more people to see, is stellar for your evergreen content strategy. But we know you might want to schedule things like holiday posts, or we know you might want to schedule things like your one-off promotional post for a certain day, or if you had a Memorial Day post yesterday that you wanted to schedule to go out. How you do that is you actually schedule it on the content level itself. So you come on in here, you check off the accounts you'd like this post to go out to. I always suggest, if you're doing one-time holiday posts, in your categories tab here in Edgar, that you create a category and you actually call it holidays. And this way, you're just going to leave this category off of your schedule. So you're not going to put this category on your schedule at all. You'll call it holidays here. Go ahead and uncheck this include when selecting random content to post, just in case you put a random time slot on your schedule. Nothing from this category will be chosen. Then when you're adding your content here, you're going to go ahead and mark it as a use once post under this advanced settings dropdown. So this use once post here will ensure that this content goes out once, and then Edgar retires it. You're going to go ahead and write your update here. And then right next to the Save to Library button, there's a drop-down arrow that says Schedule, Send, and Save. And if you populate the Schedule, Send, and Save feature with a day and time here, Edgar's going to hold this post until this day and time is reached. So just imagine being able to get all of your holiday posts scheduled in Edgar in advance, so you can really enjoy some time off and spend it with your friends and family and not have to worry about being on posting for social media during this time. So get your Happy New Year's Day posts in there. Get your Valentine's promotional post scheduled out as one-time posts here. When this day and time is reached, Edgar's going to send it out to whatever networks you've attached over here on the left, and then he'll automatically expire it. The awesome thing too is that the use once posts are stored in your library still. So over here, this use once drop down menu here, If you go ahead and select yes with this filter in your library, it'll show you all of the posts that are considered use once posts. And if you ever wanted to use these in the future, you can always come in and edit it, put in a different day and time, or make some changes, resave it, and that can go ahead and repopulate that use once post for you. So again, making sure you're using all of these features to get that great consistency and set it and forget it, freeing up your time with our evergreen content schedule, and then sprinkling in some of these use once posts for holidays, for one-day promotions, for those date-specific times as well. Whether it is coming from the weekly evergreen schedule or the use once, the queue tab right here is always going to go ahead and show those posts. Right here, this little fast forward button, that'll let you skip a post in the queue, which will put it to the end of the line in whatever category you've assigned it to and pull in the next post. For use once posts or day specific posts as well, you can always see those in the queue too by using these filters that are the same ones as the library, and it'll filter your queue. One last thing about the queue here, you do have this pause button, which will allow you to stop automation if you ever wanted to do that. Stopping automation will go ahead and resume it when you unpause the queue, and it'll allow you to connect with your community again that way. Peter, cool. So I'm going to go through a quick run through here. We've got all the questions answered that were pre-submitted. So I'm just going to do a quick 15-minute run through of the MeetEdgar setup. And then if you do have other questions after the webinar today too, email support@meetedgar.com and we can get some great chats going back and forth for sure. But yeah, definitely. I'll do a quick run through here. Melissa, there's no way to automatically duplicate a post in the library. You would have to add it again by clicking that add new content button again and copying and pasting it that way. But yeah, let me do a quick run through. Guys, if you do have other questions, if I missed anything, put them in the chat here or email support@meetedgar.com. But when you first come into an Edgar account, this accounts tab right here is going to be where you're going to want to start. This is where you're going to go ahead and hook up all of the social media accounts that you'd like to use with Edgar. You're going to go ahead and click on the rectangles here that you'd like to hook up. Edgar will grab that username and password from you and automatically hook them up, and you can always know what's hooked up because they'll appear as these little rectangles here. My next suggestion for setting up your account is to come to this categories tab. So the categories in Edgar are how we schedule content and add content, which adds such great organization to your library. And it also goes ahead and allows you to get that robust posting schedule. So putting different categories on your schedule throughout the day and throughout the week. So you can make sure that your followers are seeing a full image of your company. So things like your behind the scenes content, your thought leadership, your tips, motivational quotes, your blog posts, of course, and your promotions, your curated content. These are all really great ideas for categories. You can always rename a category if you don't like one of the predetermined ones in Edgar by clicking this pencil icon here, or you can add your own categories with this add new category button right up here. Once you get your social media accounts hooked up and your category set, you're going to click on this add new content button. So this will allow you to do things like add your social media posts to Edgar's library. So the first thing you're going to do is tell Edgar which social media accounts this post has permission to go out to. And that's going to be with this checkbox over here. So checking off all of the social media accounts you'd like this to go out to, our recommendation is always going to be to amplify your content by cross-posting it to as many networks as you're active on. You're then going to go ahead and select the category, so the type of post it is, whether it's a blog post, a tip, a quote, from this drop-down menu. These are being pulled from the categories that you set up here. You can attach an image with this button down here or a video with the one next to it. You can then go ahead and write your update here. If you do have a URL in here, let's go ahead and grab a MeetEdgar blog post. If you're sharing a URL in here, you'll notice that Edgar will also allow you to preview it. So knowing like what the Facebook preview is by clicking on this preview tab here, and you can see what that's going to look like. Or if you're interested in seeing if like Twitter cards are installed or something, go ahead and use the drop-down menu to select that. Once you're happy with how this post looks, you're going to click Save to Library. So guys, the library is going to be a catalog of all your posts. Everything you add to Edgar will always remain in the library here. You can always search for a post using this text box here, filter the library. You can always edit a post, all that fun stuff. If you do ever add an additional social media account to Edgar, or you need to do things like change the content category in Edgar, this bulk edit button here, right here, will allow you to do that in bulk. So if I click bulk edit, I can do things like use this update checkbox here to select the posts. You can filter it by the category you'd like to select, or by the account over here first if you'd like. Then these upper level social media accounts will allow you to add or remove account connections in one swoop. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot to add my Twitter account, no worries, you can do it in bulk. Or if you wanted to change the categories from one to another in one bulk of all your posts, you can do that using this upper level categories. Scroll down and click on update selected here. So the library, again, catalog of all your posts that you've added to Edgar. Nothing from the library is going to send out until we tell Edgar when on the schedule tab. So the schedule here, again, it's a weekly repeating view. However, this week repeats over and over, so you do only have to set it up once. We do it on a category-based system, so you'll locate the day and time that you'd like this content to send out. So say Sundays at 8 a.m., I want to show up for my followers. I am just going to click into this area. Similar to when you're adding content, I'm going to go ahead and tell Edgar which accounts to send it out to over here on the left. I'm going to go ahead and select the category, so the type of post it is. You can always alter the day and time up here if you'd like. You're going to click on save, and that's now a time slot on your schedule here. So how these are actually working with the library is a last in, first out order. So you can see all these time slots that have been set up are things that we've pre-scheduled to go out to our social media accounts. So Edgar's going to be moving along here. He'll hit this category. The most recent update, so the last post you added to that category, will be the first post to go out to the networks attached. It'll then be put to the end of the line in that category and move along. Next time Edgar hits that category on your schedule, Edgar will send the next update out, put it to the end of the line, and move along. And he's going to work his way through all of the posts within that category. Once he reaches the bottom and there are no new posts, that's when he's going to start from the top again, resurfacing your older posts for new followers to see, as well as those who didn't see it the first time to have the opportunity to engage with it. So if you kind of think about the easy math here that I like to do, is it's all about the ratio of how many posts you have in a category in the library versus how many times you place that category on your schedule. So say you've added 10 posts to your blog category and you place that on your schedule once, you'll know it'll be 10 weeks before Edgar recycles through content. If you place that category on your schedule twice, it'll be 5 weeks before Edgar recycles through content. If you're continuously adding new content, Edgar will always favor posting that new content before he repeats the older stuff. And again, the Q tab that's kind of sandwiched here in between the library and schedule is going to be where you can see the exact post being pulled from the library based on those time slots on your schedule. So a great place to pop into to go ahead and kind of get used to this last in, first out order as you're getting set up, because the queue is live updating. So every day it'll show you the following 2 weeks of posts that are going out. If you add or remove content or time slots, that will always appear in the queue for you too. You can always see the day and what posts you have going out. Other ways to get content into the queue, into the library, is the import tab. So that Rss Feed Reader that we looked at here is a great way to automate getting posts in. Remember, Edgar does check if you go here and you see the RSS feeds you've added. He checks these every 24 hours. If a new post has been released in that time frame, he'll automatically pull it over either to your library or your pending queue. Another great feature in the import tab is our bulk spreadsheet uploader. So this, guys, is a great way to go ahead and get a bunch of things like tips or quotes, or if you have a lot of blog posts on a spreadsheet, into MeetEdgar. So super simple setup. We have an example one in our help center. If you click on this learn more, it'll show you the example spreadsheet. But essentially your first column is going to be the category you'd like it to go into in Edgar. The second column is going to be the status update. And upon uploading it, Edgar is going to prompt you for the account connection. So a great way to get a bunch of posts into the library at once. Once Edgar does start sending out your content, the history tab is going to show you everything Edgar has sent out. Again, our suggestion is making sure you're taking advantage and getting ahead of your competition by actually engaging with your community. So using this little arrow here to go ahead and see the post on the social network, so you're able to see if you have any comments or anything that you need to actually engage with there. So that's going to be the basics of Edgar, and that's what I'm going to really suggest you focus on as you're getting set up and to not overwhelm yourself. So doing things like going in there and setting up your custom categories, thinking about the types of updates that you want to send, consider sending like a blog post in the morning, afternoon, and evening if you don't have a lot of content built up yet, in order to start to gain a little more information about when your followers are online, when they're clicking it. And if you're thinking about people's consumption habits, a lot of people will check their phone directly when they wake up in the morning, so you can show up for them there. But maybe some people don't have time to read in the morning because they click that snooze button a few too many times. But they do like to read on their lunch break. So you want to make sure you're showing up for those people who like to read on their lunch break. Or maybe you have moms who are at home who can't read until after their kids are in bed. So having your blog post category on Friday after the kids are asleep is going to show up in their feed when they're relaxing from their week. So start to try to get into the minds of your followers. Start to try to think about, where are they showing up? All of this fun stuff to be able to say, okay, I want to place my time slots on my weekly repeating schedule in a way that all of my followers, whether they're ready to buy right away or whether they're just in the consideration phase and just starting to do research about me, that I'm showing up and providing them with that great information. So I always suggest, as you're getting started out, getting a variety of content, your blog posts, articles, going out at different times of day throughout the week, making sure it's a really nice, robust schedule. I recommend thinking about that Pareto's principle, that 80-20 rule that applies to so many things in business, applying that to the MeetEdgar schedule as well. Thinking about 80% of your content should really be that traffic driving, that educational, that entertainment, that value adding content. 80% of your time slots on your schedule should be that value adding content. And then 20% can be a little bit more promotional, and it becomes such an elegant sale when it is done in this fashion because your followers are seeing, okay, look at all this value they're providing, and they're self-selecting into knowing they need your product or service. And this is a stellar way to be able to know that your product or service is reaching the people when they need it. So slowly start building up your library. It looks like we do have a few new Edgar community members here, which is awesome. So don't get too overwhelmed at the beginning. You can start out with as little as like 10 pieces of content in each category, and then slowly start adding more each week or each month. And you can know that you're freeing up your time to be able to actually then go out and engage with your community more. One of the sort of whatchamajigger schedules, that's the word I'm looking for, I always like to recommend. I'll put in the chat box here now. Let me go ahead and grab that. This is something that I always like to recommend doing, is doing the math, thinking about how much content you want to send out and placing that content into your library in a system that's really, really great to make sure you have enough fresh content, but you're still taking advantage of that evergreen content being recycled over and over again. And if you guys aren't used to the evergreen model of recycling content, I'm going to put this blog post in the chat as well. And this is one that's called 5 Big Brand Strategies to Steal for Recycling Your Content. And this will really outline quite a bit about why recycling blog posts, why recycling updates is still such a great strategy to use. So I check that out if you're not familiar with evergreen recycling. And then again, that math that I put right there is fantastic to be able to go in and have a schedule so you're not just doing social media on the fly. Because if you're not being intentional with it, if you're not setting it up ahead of time in your MeetEdgar library and having Edgar send it out, it's likely you're just going to push it off. And if you push it off, you're not going to create a strong connection with your followers. And someone else, one of your competitors, is going to spend the time to do that. So guys, please, please, please don't let social media just be something that you do without a strategy and intention behind it and without cross-promoting to each network to gain that market share that you deserve if you're putting all this hard work into your status updates, making sure they're in your MeetEdgar library every month, coming to our content batching parties to really set yourself up for success. If you haven't come to a content batching party before, it's essentially a webinar like this that we like to to do the math to go ahead and schedule things out. And again, this math can be altered for whatever you know that your community likes to see posting wise. So if you think about Instagram, if you're just getting started, you can get a little bit overwhelmed with the amount of content that you think you have to create. But when you break it down, say you want to start out posting on Instagram just 3 times a week. If you do the math, that's just having to add 12 pictures to MeetEdgar, 12 pictures a month, and writing those status updates, and you know you have a month's worth of fresh content to then go out and engage with your community, hang out in the groups, hang out in the hashtags that they're in to see what they're talking about, so you can start to create stronger and stronger content that way. So these, again, are just really great suggestions for getting the most out of the content you're adding to Edgar, because it really comes down to providing quality content that's going to be the best way to build up that community on social media. Once you do get a lot of content into Edgar, doing the variations on the content, spending time to audit the content in the history tab to see which variations are doing best, in order to guide not only your content creation, but also the times of day that you're putting stuff out there, all of that really awesome stuff. So it is coming up on the hour, our office hours here, but guys, I will stay on for a few more minutes. Is there anything else that you guys are kind of wondering about in the back of your head, whether it's about MeetEdgar's features or any sort of social media strategy that I can go over with you? Definitely pop it into the chat. We are always available at support@meetedgar.com, or in your account in the lower right-hand corner, there's that little chat feature. You can always ask us questions as well. And we love, love, love chatting, guys, so never be shy about that. And we'll be doing office hours every day, so I do hope you come back. That link that was in your email will always go ahead and bring you to where you can schedule it. We're going to also be going in and altering days and times we're doing it, so switching around the times to hopefully give you a convenient time no matter what. So if you have any feedback at all, definitely let us know about that feedback. I'm also going to go ahead here and pop in one last link for you. Let me go ahead and find that. And this link I'll also email out with the recording here if you're interested. And this is going to be our survey link for just that we're providing you with the information at the time that you need it. So guys, it looks like no one's popping in any other questions in the chat, so I'm assuming that you guys are hopefully hard at work in your Edgar account, adding that content, making sure you're scheduling it out. So please go ahead and let me, I'll stay on a couple more minutes, like I said here, and we'll go ahead and get those questions answered if you here we go. All right, guys, so here is the survey link here. It is for our, it is going to go ahead and ask you, just if you're interested in learning about more features, stuff like that, let us know. I'll email you if you submitted a question ahead of time with that answer. So we'll go ahead and keep in contact that way. Otherwise, looks like we're a little bit crickets in the chat right now, which is great. Again, hope you're working on your Edgar account. Please keep in contact with us. Please let us know any feedback you have either about this or the product at any time. It is truly an honor for MeetEdgar to be able to serve you guys and to be able to help small businesses keep up with the big boys and keep their communities going and really stand out in your niche and really make sure that your idea, your product, your service is reaching the people who need it most in this world. So guys, thanks again for helping me have my very first office hours with you. And I'll go ahead and email the recording and keep in touch at support@meetedgar.com. Have a really awesome day, guys.